First of all, I know most people keep asking, there's a kid named Derek Funderburke who's coming here. He's not my son. I tell my wife's like, man, is there some kids that I don't know about?
Spelled different.
And I have an E on my end of my name. He doesn't. So get that out of the way. Also, whenever I come to a venue like this, I like to get a feel for the audience, what they think. And I asked a young lady, a student here. I said, "Well, what are your thoughts?" And she talked about, "Well, I'm here. I'm just trying to gain some information. And I think by and large, most of the athletes that are come to this university or that are here right now don't take their academics seriously." And that's very troubling on a number of fronts. Charlie Scott, those of you, if you're over 45, you know Charlie Scott, you know his story. His son, Shannon Scott, who was a star basketball player here. Charlie was the first African-American athlete on scholarship at the University of North Carolina in the midst of racism and all of that and what he went through. And I spoke with him, and he didn't have any bitterness or anything how he was treated. We were at the Final Four a few years ago, and he said, "Lawrence, I'm all about preparing my son." He said, "It's not about the next 4 years, it's about the next 40 years. And that's what college is about. It should prepare you, it should catapult you, your opportunities, your networking, your educational advancement. That's what college should prepare you for." Because this issue is very seriously, as everyone just articulated here today, and it's about lives and legacies. That's really what it's about when it talks about young folks. And the term student athlete is an oxymoron. Student athlete. Really? Student athlete? And there's culpability on both sides with this whole issue here. And with the so-called student athlete and also the university. Is it of higher learning or instinctive learning? Now, if the athlete doesn't have a game plan or playbook for his life or her life, then they're going to continue to get pimped by the system. Now, and also the universities in the two revenue-generating sports, if an athlete comes to this university or any university and leaves no better off when they started, then the university has failed them through gross negligence. That's what they failed them through. Now, my story, I came here very similar to a lot of kids. I was a top 5 high school recruit coming out of college. I was actually second, rated even ahead of Shaquille O'Neal, but we know who had a better career. Every school in the country wanted me. Every school wanted me, told me how great I was, promised me everything. I grew up in a very difficult environment. I grew up on welfare. I carry a food stamp with me to this day as a constant reminder of the stench of poverty. I was on a government scholarship. We were totally dependent on the government to live, to eat, everything. Very dysfunctional, never knew my father, saw my father 3 times my whole life. My father never one time told me that he loved me. Like a lot of young men who come to school, you're very bitter, very distrustful, particularly of white males, because you don't have a father figure in your life. And I remember having a conversation with Thad Matta this basketball season, and it was at the beginning of the season. They were practicing. I was going to be a keynote speaker to some alumni, and he started talking. He said, "Lawrence, when I get done with basketball, I want to start a nonprofit organization that works with inner city black males, because there's so many black males who come to school here. They're so distrustful of me, and I have to earn their trust." And I said, it's pretty simple. When you don't have father figures in your life, when you have people who promise you that they're going to be there and they never show up, you're very distrustful, and particularly of a system that uses you for what you can give on the court of the football field, but not your intellectual capabilities. Now, I am against paying athletes. I'm against it. Because when athletes don't take advantage of the situation and allow the situation or the opportunity to take advantage of them, they have some blame to go along. And what does this lead to? Academic indifference, reckless behavior. What are they going to take seriously? Not much. Not much at all. Now, when you pay college athletes, you handicap them. I've had multiple surgeries. When I was coming here, whenever I speak to young people, I speak to young people in prison, I speak to young people all over the country. I always bring crutches. I bring crutches because that's what a lot of young people do. And if we start paying them, if we start making it easier for them, that's going to perpetuate even more that I'm a professional athlete. That's what's going to perpetuate. And money is going to magnify your deficits. I made millions and millions and millions of dollars playing pro sports. A lot of guys made a lot more money than me. Most guys end no better off when they leave the professional ranks than when they enter. I wrote a book about it, Hook Me a Player, okay? Before it broke came out, I wrote this book many years before that. And as Gary Sayre said, athletes need to think about the end of their career at the beginning of their career. That's what they need to do. That's their responsibility. Coach's responsibility to do that. Because once you go into the phone booth as Superman and you come out, you're permanently Clark Kent. And that day is over, you playing basketball, that's it. You can't go in there anymore and put that suit on. Now, when you feel taken advantage of, you feel exploited, you feel entitled, you feel owed. I grew up in that environment. I know a lot about being owed or feeling entitled, growing up on welfare, right here. Now, here's the implied recruitment manifesto of big-time athletic departments. My wife, she knows I'm a bit controversial. She says, I think that's a little too edgy, Lawrence, but I'm going to share this anyway. I love my wife. I've been married for 17 years. I met her here at this university. Many big-time athletic departments are beholden, right? They hold the universities captive, right, through athletics. And here's what the recruitment manifesto that I come up with. The only things that matters to us is your athletic abilities. We don't value your intellectual capabilities. As a matter of fact, we know what's best for you. And we're going to guide you into a meaningless degree or no degree, just so you stay eligible and above all else, compliant in thought, in word, in deed. You will receive a free education, room and board, and media exposure, not to mention fringe benefits, as the BMOC, that stands for Big Man on Campus. As you tear your bodies up in the process for this great university, but don't worry if this happens, we got you covered. Because we got the best money that doctors can buy. Now, think as less as possible and concentrate only from the neck down. At all other times, and don't ever forget this, do what you're told. Do what you're told. Sound fair? Sign right here on the dotted line. Sign right here on the dotted line. Now, we make excuses a lot for athletes. And we say they can't squeeze any more on their plate. A lot of folks have talked about finance. I have 3 degrees. And the longer I stayed in college, the more it hurt me when it came time to be drafted. If I would have left school early after my sophomore year, I would have been a lottery pick for sure. But I stayed, and I promised my mom and I promised myself that I knew education was very important for me. I graduated in business finance from this university, magna cum laude. A lot of those professors didn't like academics. Athletics and academics. A lot of times, academics take a back seat to athletics, as Cindy mentioned when I was talking to her. I also have a master's degree in business administration. I got my MBA when I was playing in the NBA, because I knew one day the basketball would stop bouncing. I'm also a certified financial planner. So I have 3 degrees. Kids who come in this university can get 1, or you can come back and get 1. I know college is not for everybody, but everybody needs an education. Because education, intellectual stimulation, and a 40-year playbook is so important. Now, paying college athletes. Here's my 5-point plan. If we're going to pay athletes, there's some things that we have to do. Number 1, we should definitely have some type of life skills program. Athletes come to me all the time, and what they tell me is, I don't know how to, as Marie said, I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to communicate. I don't know how to network. I don't know how to do anything other than play the sport or talk about how great I was playing. So we need some life skills, but not only for athletes, we need to educate parents too. Because you're taught, and they look at you as the meal ticket to get out of the bad situation. Most inner city kids feel that way. Life skills is very important. Who should teach them? Athletes who've blazed the trail. And you know what? You got to pay them. I'm tired of universities expecting me to come back here for free. I'm a professional. You got to pay me. You got to pay me, and I'm good at what I do. So that's number 1. Mentoring arrangement. Every athlete should have a mentor, someone who guides him or her along. Everyone needs that, because a mentor can provide a lifetime of education so that you don't have to go through the heartaches. Now, also maybe a supplemental stipend to help with a college scholarship. How much? Not too much, but certainly that can be done. I propose this, a deferred savings or retirement vehicle. Just like employees, when you have to contribute and you have to be vested, if you leave early, then you don't get that money. I think there should be some type of mechanism, some ties to that. I know some others propose health insurance or income replacement. And then the last one is a family emergency fund. I grew up poor. My mom, when I went to Indiana University, I went there first and I transferred in conference. It didn't go very well. Me and Bobby Knight didn't work out too well. But a lot of families can't go to games. They don't have the money. They can't physically go. And when I transferred in conference to Ohio State, I wasn't on scholarship. I paid just like my way, just like everybody else. And I think there are some smart approaches that we can do. We're never going to be fair or equitable with this, but we have to be sensible. We can at least all agree to that, agree to this. And where are the adults in the room, right? Where are the adults in the room? We need to be adults because we have hindsight. And I don't really like being a part of this discussion because if it doesn't lead anywhere, time is money to me. I got to get paid. I don't really have time unless I'm really getting paid. But I realize I have to be an advocate for the athletes who come to this university, who come to me all the time and they say, Lawrence, I need help. And that's my spiel.
Thanks, Lawrence. We can tell you were paying attention in finance class in your CFP as well.